Primals, I'm making this video to apologize. And I'm here now to set the record straight. Yes, I've done steroids. And yes, I am on steroids, monitored and managed by a trained hormone clinician. I've always said no, I don't touch this stuff, not gonna touch this stuff, never touch this stuff. That was a lie.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the Liver King confession and the Liver King apology. So it's kind of unfortunate that this whole Liver King thing has been the most viral story that I've seen in a really long time about anything related to bodybuilding or fitness or PEDs. Everybody's talking about it. People that have nothing to do with fitness, that have millions of subscribers, they're all talking about this. And I think because it was such an in-your-face lie. I mean, he went on all the biggest podcasts in the world and repeated the same lie over and over again. So he made this confession video, which I read all the comments on the confession video after I watched it, and there's a lot of people picking apart the apology and saying it's a lot of excuses. He's just not taking accountability. He's just sorry that he got caught, not sorry that he lied. And I watched the whole apology video twice, and I gotta say, while I do think he's very sorry that he got caught, I actually did think he took a pretty reasonable amount of accountability, which he really didn't have much choice, to be fair. I mean, he was pretty dead to rights, exposed in that More Plays, More Dates video. But I did think it was a decent apology because with his whole character, the other route that he could have gone is just continued to spout the same narrative or just acted like this never happened. And he could have continued to deny everything in the Liver King character, and it probably still would have had a lot of virality to it if that's what he ended up posting. But in his apology video, he did take full accountability, and not only that, but he said everything that he's currently taking, things that he used to take. Then he also said at the very end, which I thought was a real genuine taking of accountability. He says these young men that I talk about, that are facing depression and self-esteem issues and they're insecure and all this stuff, he said, that's me. That's why I'm taking the PEDs. That's why I did it. Now, I really do think that part of the apology was a true, genuine moment of taking accountability. Yes, I take the stuff. Yes, I lied about it. And yes, I'm insecure and depressed, and that's why I started doing this. So while I still think he didn't have much choice to come clean and apologize, because like I said, he was pretty reasonably exposed across the board, I can at least appreciate the fact that he didn't deny anything. He didn't continue with the charade, and he pretty much completely came clean in this confession video. However, I still think what he did was disgusting because it's these kind of stories about the fitness industry, about bodybuilding, about some viral character that's lying to their fans or deceiving people to sell product. It's unfortunately those type of stories that get the most press, that get the most media, that get the most attention. So here's another guy that was famous for his physique, for his fit lifestyle, for his fit message, and also his extreme eating habits, obviously. But he was kind of a representative of the fitness industry to the mainstream because he was this jacked guy that got all this crazy press. And he turns out to be a liar and a fraud, even though most of us that are in the fitness industry already knew that he wasn't natural. I mean, it was pretty obvious to most of us. That was actually the first time I was ever introduced to the Liver King. It was maybe a year ago at Thanksgiving or Christmas. I had never heard of him. And one of my cousins asked me, he's like, have you seen this Liver King guy on TikTok? He claims he's never taken steroids. He's like, look at him. What do you think? And he showed me a video of the Liver King for the first time. He's like, dude, obviously that guy's not natural. That's what I said. And that was my very first introduction to the Liver King. So my first impression of him was never great because my first impression of him was this lie that he's telling. That was like his initial beginning of his character, and that's what people took away from it. So for people to say, yeah, us in the fitness industry, we could look at him and say, obviously this guy's on the juice, but to the average person that doesn't really follow the fitness industry, doesn't really know much about bodybuilding, there's a lot of people that believed him, whether it seems unbelievable or not. There's a lot of young impressionable kids that probably watch that, even though my cousin was in his 30s. And there's a lot of people that have no idea anything about fitness that probably watched him claim this over and over and over again. And they probably believed it. That's the fact of the matter. So I think it's unfortunate that this kind of gave another black eye to the fitness industry. But at the same time, I do think it's encouraging that pretty much every podcast that I saw had featured him and that he made these claims on, or people that seemed like they were friends or supporters. It looks like everybody has basically turned on him and said, this is wrong. This guy's a fraud. So he got pretty much made a pretty good example of, and I think that is a good thing. And with that being said, I think as long as he goes forward without this natural lie, and he still continues to promote what he's promoting, which he claims is health and longevity and a fit, active lifestyle, and then also the crazy eating habits, I don't really disagree with that. I think he would be doing a lot of good if that's all he's promoting and he's not claiming that he didn't attain it without PEDs. And I'm not for cancel culture, so if he does that, let him carry on, man. Let him be the Liver King. Let him do his thing. Let him get more publicity. And if he's selling overpriced products or whatever, that's what everybody's doing, as long as he's not lying anymore. But I am curious to hear your guys' thoughts on the Liver King situation in the comments section down below. All right, now let's get into some actual bodybuilding news. So we got an interesting status from Michael Krizo, posted on his Instagram story at 2 weeks out from the Olympia. Now, this was posted in his native tongue, but one of my subscribers translated for me, and I thought it was interesting because he's being kind of humble now. So he says he would be happy to take a top 10 spot at the Olympia. He would be grateful to make it to the top 10. There's a lot of us, and some people will be overlooked at the Olympia. So he's saying here he'd be happy with top 10 because there's a chance that he would get overlooked, because really there are so many great competitors at this year's Olympia, which I think is a little bit of a change of pace for Michael Krizo, because so early on into his, I guess, infamy on social media was his banter back and forth with the current pro league guys, because he's from the Elite Pro. And ever since he's turned pro, and he's made it to the IFBB Pro League, and he's made it to the Olympia, I feel like he's toned down this cocky attitude a lot. And I remember thinking this same thing when I made my initial Olympia prediction video. Michael Krizo reposted it, and I thought maybe with the cocky attitude that Michael Krizo has had, I almost thought he'd be offended that I had him taking 9th, but it seemed like when he reposted it on his story, he was happy that I had him in the top 10. So it kind of makes me wonder if this is his attempt at better sportsmanship, or if he's really just not that confident in how he'll do at the Olympia, which, again, makes me rethink my predictions. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments down below about Michael Krizo's seemingly recent change of attitude as the Olympia draws closer. And where do you think Michael Krizo will place at the 2022 Mr. Olympia? And next up in the news, one of Michael Krizo's main rivals, Iain Valliere, has been looking very impressive in his recent physique updates as he gets closer to the 2022 Mr. Olympia. We're now 2 weeks out from that contest. And Iain and Michael Krizo have had quite a bit of back and forth on social media ever since Michael Krizo turned pro, and even a little bit before Michael Krizo even turned pro. So this has been an interesting conversation, and I've got Krizo in my predictions ahead of Iain Valliere. I had Iain in 10th and Krizo in 9th. So Iain posted this side chest shot, which admittedly I think looks very impressive. And I wanted to put this side by side, even though it's kind of an unfair comparison, with the latest side chest from Michael Krizo, which was a couple weeks ago. So Iain's a bit closer than Krizo is, and you guys can let me know, and he's showing a little bit less because he's wearing a tank top, but you guys can let me know in the comments below who looks more impressive in the side chest, Krizo or Iain, and do you agree or disagree with my Iain versus Krizo prediction? All right, now the final story that I've got for you guys today, a 2.5 weeks out physique update from Bumstead, and a YouTube video kind of detailing that. Now, there were a couple things that I thought were interesting about this video. Number one was the intro. And the intro was something that I think I kind of disagree with, unless Chris is referring to something else, because Chris said, you know, one of the things that has him motivated is there's a lot of people talking crap about him, and a lot of people want to see him fail now that he's winning. So they're pointing out potential shortcomings, etc., etc. Now, I'm assuming here he's talking about the bicep thing. And I don't think, I disagree, because I don't think people want to see him fail. I certainly don't. And I'm one of the people that pointed out the bicep thing. Chris is the guy that I'm rooting for, and Chris is the guy that I want to see win again. I want to make that clear. I think it's more, well, I think a lot of people did notice the bicep in that update. It looked very imbalanced. I think a lot of people noticed it, and a lot of people pointed out, and I don't think that was because they don't like him or don't want him to win. But I think in those photos, it was a pretty obvious imbalance, and it was hard not to point it out. But I think the other thing, too, is once you got a guy that's winning multiple titles, and they've won multiple times, I don't think it's necessarily a situation where, okay, now you've won a bunch of times, we don't want to see you win anymore, so now we're going to pick you apart. I think it's more, when a guy first starts to win, the question is, can this guy win? When a guy wins multiple times, the question becomes, is this guy going to lose? Can this guy be beaten? And it's no longer a question of can he win, because we've seen him win so many times. So I don't think it's necessarily that people are rooting against Chris. I think it's now there's so many young, new, talented, up-and-coming guys in classic physique. It's the question is, will Chris be beaten? Not that we want him to be beaten. So I think it's the same thing like we saw with Phil Heath. Or at least a little bit comparable. I do think there were a lot of people that disliked Phil, and I do think there were a lot of people that genuinely disliked his physique in terms of his midsection. But I do think it became a question of Phil has won so many times. So when we're talking about the Olympias that Phil's competing in, the question becomes, in what scenario does somebody else win this title? Not necessarily that we wanted Phil to lose the title. And then when Phil did lose the title, the conversation became, why did he lose it? And that was why there was such an emphasis on the midsection. So I don't think it's hate that Chris is getting. I think it's people just participating in a bodybuilding conversation, because that's what bodybuilding is. That's what classic physique is basically picking apart a physique. And even a champion as good as Chris is not infallible to that. And the reason I wanted to include this physique update and this little anecdote in here is because in Chris's video, he did do a couple back double bicep shots. And in those back double bicep shots, you can't see the imbalance. You can only really see it in those front double bicep pictures. You can't really see anything weird about his biceps when he's just standing there. You can't really see any imbalance in the back double bicep. When he hits a side chest with that arm, the arm that we're talking about, the bicep peak looking a little bit atrophied, you don't really notice anything. It's only in that front double bicep shot. So I think that also is noteworthy in this video, that in the back double bicep, it doesn't appear to have an imbalance. And just to be clear, even if Chris does have a slight bicep tear or he tweaked his bicep or something, I don't think that changes anything. I don't think he's going to lose. And I'm still of the opinion that Chris will go on to win a total of at least 5 titles. But I do know that some of you guys disagree with that. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Make sure you like and subscribe for more bodybuilding news just like this. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.